everyone, my name is Shelby. Welcome back to my channel, Grace with Books. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up and August TBR. This July I read 4 books and I am just as happy with that as any other month that I read more than 4 books. I think a lot of the times as readers we put it on ourselves to read so many books every single month, and we are so focused on the quantity of books, we are not focused on the quality of books. So even though I only read 4 books this month, and that is very different from other months of the year, I'm still really proud of myself because I know this was a really hard month for me, and reading 4 books is an accomplishment. So if you're feeling this way, take a load off, you're okay. Whatever you read is good. I do want to talk really quickly why this was an off month for me, because I like to be very transparent about my anxiety and mental health issues, because I believe the way that stigma is combated is by being transparent. So I had a really not so great mental health month. I was feeling a lot of anxiety this month over things that I really can't control, but that give me anxiety anyway. A lot of my anxiety stems from the future and the unknown. I'm a big scheduler, and I schedule because I'm anxious of not knowing what happens next. So going into my senior year of college, going back to school after not being there for a bit, all of these unknowns tend to put me a little on edge, and for some reason I was hyper focused on that this month, even though I really tried not to be. That impacted my mental health, it impacted what I read and how I interacted with people. For me, a lot of the month was really focused on trying to get back to a better place, and I'm really happy to be going into August with this more positive mindset, because as the school year gets closer, I know I'm going to be feeling more of those anxieties. I really want to start practicing self-care early on so that it's a smoother transition. So that's why I've been feeling a little bit off recently and why I read so few books. But the books I did read, I generally enjoyed most of them. So we are going to get into the books that I ended up reading, as well as the books I would like to read next month. So let's get started. We're just going to get the bad one out of the way right now, and that is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. I feel like this is going to be an unpopular opinion. This is the first book I have ever read by Sally Thorne, but I know people like her other books. I think one of them is like 99% Mine and The Hating Game, but I started with this one because I thought it looked interesting. It follows a girl who works at a nursing home, and her entire life is this nursing home. She spends all her time there, that she's kind of started to dress and act like one of the senior citizens she's taking care of. And the other love interest in this novel is the tattooed bad boy son of the owner of this senior living home, who comes for a summer to work there. And they kind of butt heads, and our main character has to kind of evaluate if this is really all she wants out of life. As I said, the premise sounded really good to me. It was the execution of that I didn't enjoy. I found it really difficult to connect to the characters. Each of them was so specific. I could find no quality in them that I could really see in myself. I don't know. It was just, I found it very hard to like them. And I also felt that the book was really drawn out. It just seemed like it went on forever. I found myself really skimming pages just to get to where the action was. I 100% would have DNF'd this if I wasn't so curious about when the 2 love interests were gonna get together. I am fine with a slow burn, but this was like excruciatingly, painfully slow that I just lost interest. It was just a boring story, and it took me a really long time to read it, and that's how you can really tell if it's a book I enjoy. I'll finish it within a week, but this took so long, and I think that coupled with my mental health, it just wasn't a good combination. I didn't enjoy it, and yes, I kept reading hoping it would be better. That was on me. I should have stopped reading, but just the ending didn't even redeem it at all. So was really disappointed in this book, especially because I had high hopes for it. This was one I was actually very excited for, and it let me down. So I gave this book 1 star. The next book I read in July is one I enjoyed so much more than the previous one, and that was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. I got this book a few months ago. I've been really excited to pick it up after hearing so many rave reviews, and I loved this book. I thought it was just such a rich fantasy book with such a unique premise. It was just very exciting for me, especially after reading Second First Impressions. Despite its slow start, I really fell in love with our main characters, Zafira and Nasir, and the rest of the people on their journey with them. We Hunt the Flame follows Zafira, who is a hunter for her village in order to provide them food, but in the kind of country town she lives in, it's kind of taboo for a woman to be doing anything but being a wife, so she keeps her identity a secret. And we also follow Prince Nasir, who is this assassin prince who was trained by his father to kill, and while he doesn't always approve of his father's rulings, he is so desperate for his approval he'll carry out any mission. These two characters end up colliding when there is this magical relic and a quest to go retrieve it in order to return magic to their land. This land has been ravaged by this dark force, and this one magical object is the key to stopping it and bringing light and magic and happiness back to the world. I really like how we got both Zafira and Nasir's perspectives. I think that it really gave us a good insight into both of the characters and really just made you fall in love with them more. Hafsa Faisal added some really wonderful twists that I did not see coming in this book, and I always love being thrown for a loop because it just made the book that much more exciting to read. This is an enemies to lovers romance, and we didn't get a ton of the romantic development between the two characters, but I really appreciated the author's choice to focus more on their individual journeys in this book rather than their romance. I am so excited to read the next book. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's like We Free the Stars, but this was a 4-star read for me. I really enjoyed it. So I lied earlier when I said I read 4 books. I read 5 books. I just totally forgot about this one because it was such a quick read, but it was also such an amazing read. I cannot believe I forgot this. So ignore what I said earlier. I read 5 books this month. I don't know how I forgot this. It's kind of ironic that this book is the lost book in this wrap-up because it is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is a historical fiction book about an apothecary in the 18th century that sells poisons to women disguised as herbal remedies so that they can fight back against the abusive men in their lives. It is such a cool historical fiction. It's a super quick read. I absolutely flew through it. It's just so engaging, and because it's short, the speed is just all there. You have momentum through the entire story. All of it is engaging. And on top of the cool historical fiction aspect you have of this, you also have a mystery component of what happened to this lost apothecary that kind of takes place in the 21st century when a woman who is kind of dealing with the fallout of her relationship decides to go to London and discovers a relic from this lost apothecary and decides to do research on it. So there's some mystery, there's some intrigue, there's murder. It is so good, and if you have not picked up The Lost Apothecary and you need a quick read, something to kind of maybe get you out of a slump or something to kind of, I don't know, get you out of some sort of funk, or if you just want a book to fly through, this is a great choice. It was amazing and I gave it 5 stars. It was beautiful. The next book that I read in July is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I adore Emily Henry's writing. I loved her book Beach Read, and this is her second book, I believe, that she's released. It is kind of like friends to lovers amazingness. And in it we follow Poppy and Alex, who I believe met their freshman year of college, became really good friends, and have for the past 10 years decided to take a vacation together every single summer. This happens until a fallout at one of their vacations causes them to not speak to each other for 2 years. But Poppy has been noticing some unhappiness in her life recently and believes that the way to kind of fix her and get her out of her funk is to take one last vacation with Alex to kind of resolve their issues. So I adored this book. I loved the format, how we kept flashing in and out of the present, looking back at the different vacations they've taken, getting to see their relationship develop, all while seeing them figure out their issues in the present, in the summer that this book takes place in. And I just thought it was really well done. I felt like I was traveling with Poppy and Alex for these vacations. I felt like I was right there with them. That's how engaging and exciting this was. I mean, this is how you write a romance. Like, the differences between this and Second First Impressions are innumerable. And yes, they have very different plots, but they're both kind of friends to lovers. And while that one was just a lot of random, sensical events in a row, this made sense to me. This is how you do a slow burn friends to lovers romance. It was amazing. I've heard a lot of people who agree with me. Let me know your thoughts down below if you're one of those people. But People We Meet on Vacation was just a really beautiful story about two people who felt very lost and kind of learned to find themselves within each other. It was wonderful. I gave it 4.5 stars. The final book that I read in July is a really anticipated one for me, so I'm super excited to share my thoughts with you guys, and it is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I have been wanting to read this book since it got announced, and I finally did, and let me tell you, worth it. So worth it. If you don't know what The Prison Healer is about, we follow a 17-year-old girl named Kiva who works at this prison called Zalendov, and she is the prison healer. She is in charge of making sure all of the inmates are semi-healthy, making sure any injuries aren't fatal, things like that. But she's also in charge of carving them with the Zalendov symbol when they come in. So a lot of the other prisoners kind of look down on her for being in such a treasured role within this really deadly prison. One day, however, the rebel queen of the country, the woman who is trying to take over the throne from the current rulers, is brought into the prison, and Kiva is charged with healing her, but she's kind of beyond healing. This rebel queen has been sentenced to trial by ordeal, which is a series of 4 challenges, and if she completes all of them, she is free to go. But Kiva knows this woman isn't in any state to compete, so Kiva takes the woman's place. So now either Kiva completes all of these challenges and wins both of their freedom, or they both die. It was such an engaging plot, especially watching Kiva wrestle inside with what she is bound to do and what she wants to do. She is charged with healing people, and yet there are a lot of people in this prison who really hate her, and kind of her dealing with that distrust and hate and trying to stay alive in a place where you have to betray everyone you know in order to do so. Kiva was such a strong character, and what I liked about her is that her resilience came from such a true place, unlike other YA heroines who are kind of just like special and have nothing to kind of earn that. They're just kind of blah. She actually had layers, and I really appreciated that in my protagonist. I liked the pacing of this book. I thought it was really good, especially when you have the challenges kind of marked through the book to kind of keep you up. So you go through all 4 challenges in this book, and those were just so exhilarating to read about. It was just insane. Like, this book takes you on such a wild ride with such an insane ending that makes me want the next book so badly, and thankfully it actually is also coming out this year. So this book, I believe, was like released in March, I want to say, and the sequel is going to be released in September or October, I think, so not that far away, which is absolutely insane. So I'm very excited to pick up The Gilded Cage, and this was just such a great immersive fantasy book, and I have not fallen that head over heels for characters in such a long time. So it was just such a refreshing book to end the month on. So I'm so happy I read this. If you're on the fence, definitely pick it up. It was so much fun. So yeah, I gave The Prison Healer 5 stars. So as you can see, barring one exception, I had a pretty good reading month despite everything, and now we're gonna move on to the books I would like to get to in August. Kind of looking at what worked for me in July, that's what I kind of based my TBR on for August. I found myself less anxious when I was reading really immersive fantasy books, things that completely distracted me from my own problems and kind of gave me an escape, because reading sometimes for me is escapism. So the books I've picked out for August are all big fantasy books, so bear with me. I'm so excited. Hopefully I'll get to all of these. I may not, but that's okay. First up is one I've talked about a lot, but I'm finally hoping to get to, and that is Witches Steeped in Gold by Kianan Smart. This is the Fairy Loot edition, which is why it doesn't have its normal cover. It looks like this. It's very pretty, and from what I understand, this is about 2 rival covens, and when a big evil threatens both of them, the 2 head witches, I believe, from each of these covens are forced to work together in order to vanquish this evil. I don't know much of it beyond that. It seems really magical and immersive, and I'm really excited to kind of just get lost in it because I have heard some amazing things. Next up is one that was not even on my radar till I got it in my most recent Fairy Loot box, and that is Fire with Fire by Destiny Soria. This book is a fantasy with dragons in it, which I find super exciting. From what I can tell, this is about 2 sisters who were born to be dragon slayers, but but that's about all they have in common. One of them, dragon slaying is her whole life, and the other one wants nothing to do with this family business. So I believe it is about their relationship. I'm sure something goes wrong. I don't know much about it beyond that, but dragons. I want a book with dragons. I'm very excited to pick this up. It seems great. I love any book having to do with familial relationships and sisters. I find that to be a topic very close to my heart, so I'm really excited to see how that all plays out in the book. I'm really excited to get to this one. The next two books are both sequels to some of my favorite series, so the next two books are sequels to some of my favorite series, so I'm definitely going to try to get to them this month. This first one is Grace and Glory by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the third book in her Harbinger trilogy, which is a spin-off of her White Hot Kiss trilogy. In the world where this story takes place, there are angels and demons and these kind of gargoyle-like creatures that protect the humans from the demons by command of the angels. There's this whole hierarchy, but as we find out in the first series, not all demons are inherently evil, and there's a lot done with that. I don't want to tell you a lot about this series because it will spoil the original series, but know that it is one of my favorite series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I know she's been very popular recently with From Blood and Ash, but this was all before that. So if you'd like to check out some of her other works, I highly recommend checking out the White Hot Kiss series and then read this one after it, but I'm really excited to get to it. Also, the cover is very pretty. Finally, the final book on my August TBR, and this is an exciting one, is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahurin. This is the third book in the Serpent and Dove series. I believe it is the final book in the Serpent and Dove series. Like, I never know at this point. I feel like authors are always saying this is the end, but then have more books. So, actually not quite sure, but this is one I have been so excited to read since last year when Blood and Honey came out, and we finally will get to kind of see the end of Lou and Reed's story. So, if you've been living under a rock and don't know what Serpent and Dove is about, it is about a witch and a witch hunter who have to get married, but the witch hunter doesn't know she's a witch, and there's all this drama and magic that ensues from that. I am really excited to see the conclusion of their story. I had some issues with Blood and Honey just in terms of what happened in the book and the ending, so I'm interested to see if those things will be resolved in this book or not. So I'm skeptical but mostly excited. So really hoping to get to this one in August. And that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment down below what were your favorite books of July and what you're planning to read in August. If you guys liked this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification bell to get updates on when I post. I post every single week and it means the world to me. I love you guys so much. Have a healthy and happy August, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
A steamboat sailed ashore. It was calling me aboard. And as I climbed inside, I saw you.